questions?
Go ahead, Ken.
Okay. My only thought is, since I read the emails exchange and the final email I received, and which had both the statement from Mary Jean and Brian, it said that the petitions, all petitions, can be reviewed by the filing party a second time. And at that point in time, I think it's since we're the fiduciaries of all petitions, that to see who gets on the ballot, which is a major thing, whether it's a PC candidate or a candidate for governor. It's our duty as the fiduciaries of these petitions to make sure that they're correct, whether it's by form or by signature. And if someone in their thought thinks that a petition needs a second review to make sure it qualifies for the ballot, since that's the important step in the democracy process, I think we should make that second review or third review or fourth review. Again, ultimately, when we find something bad as line staff or line staff supervisors, whether it's Dave or myself, we don't make the ultimate decision as to whether that petition is not going to qualify for the ballot. That decision is made by Pam, Mary Jean, and Brian. And we took that process on, started it last evening. Pam, myself, and Brian were standing out in the middle room going through the questionable petitions, looking at them again, another review. So at that point, we were deciding, well, this by statute is okay. And by reviewing the statute and by reviewing advisories and directives, we determined that missing a partial date on a candidate signature, that's okay. So we took those petitions, as the three of us were looking at them, mainly it was Pam and it was Pam and Brian were looking at them. We were putting them from the questionable pile back into, yes, this is a good petition, it's going to qualify for the ballot once it's certified by the board. They were Cogman petitions, and I don't know where we call them Cogman petitions, but I've yet to see him involved in this process this time. The New Summit Republican petitions, they were both Republican Party petitions and the New Summit Republican Party petitions in that questionable file. There weren't just the so-called Cogman petitions.
I don't know why you checked those, because that would have been up to Brian and I to check those.
Well, I
What
don't
happened over the weekend, Gary? What you gave, or you or Amanda gave people petitions to check.
Right.
What were those petitions?
They were petitions that hadn't been pre-checked prior, so that they hadn't been, so as to form and the signatures.
Those were all Cogman petitions?
Yes, because they had not been pre-checked. 90%, let me state this.
Do we check pre-check petitions when they come in, or we do not?
We do.
Okay.
And we also, any petition that was filed by the Summit County Republican Party, the 480, or 483 or whatever was filed, of the ones that hadn't been pre-checked, I went through those a third time. And the other Republican petitions,
So the Cogman petitions got 3 passes?
I don't know that. I have to.
You just said you went through them the third time.
No, but no, I said the Republican Party.
Republican.
Yeah, they hadn't been pre-checked. I looked at those again. And again, I just think it's our duty to make sure, and if you don't want us to do that, that's, but I think it's to look at the petition as many times as you can.
Say we don't want you to check everyone's.
Well, I don't know what my conclusions are out of this meeting, so. But the main thing is that, and I'll go back to my original statement, anything that's filed here at the Board of Elections, especially if it's something that has to do with something getting to the ballot, as we do issues and candidates alike, they're reviewed on as many times as it takes to make sure that it's a quality petition and it should be on the ballot.
I reviewed as many times as it takes.
To make sure they're on the ballot, sure.
I reviewed twice.
In some cases, even more than, because on the original, for instance, let me
There's some Republican that get more than that.
let me go back to what happens in this original filing. When, first of all, any pre-check done, either by Democrats or Republicans, they're brought in and they're pre-checked by that party. So that's one pass. The day they're filed, as they're brought to the counter, and even the ones that are pre-checked, they're reviewed again to make sure that the circular statement's been signed and the numbers are right. And we do this to make sure that it's a quality petition. So the person has time to back out and recirculate, we do that. That is a written procedure that we have to review them again. So that's the second review. Then they come in and they're reviewed by the opposite party. They're actually checked in the computer by the opposite party. That's the third review. Then this time, we were given the task that day was to look at the Republican petitions as to form and make sure that they were, the circular statement was right and the dates were correct. Then we signed off on those. I signed off on the Democrat stuff. So now we're up to 4 reviews.
Do you feel that all the petitions were, everyone was treated the same?
Yes.
I don't.
Okay.
What was the special project? Like
I don't know what that special project was. I never mentioned the word special project.
Van Mayer said
You told by
special.
somebody to review the cause of petition.
No,
You told me you were only doing the cause of petitions.
because they weren't precinct. I mentioned that earlier.
But if they were all good, why would you try to look at them again to see if there was something wrong?
Again, that's our duty.
If not, you didn't do that to the candidates.
Were there any Republican Party petitions that were filed that were not rechecked?
There could have been, yeah, I'm sure there were.
Were
We
those
looked-
reviewed again?
Yes, I did. I reviewed those, I reviewed them all, whether they were, and give every one of them a cursory check as I was going through.
What also wasn't mentioned was that this email that Mary Jean had set up the process from February 10th, I forwarded to Dave and Gary on Saturday and said, do this. I didn't editorialize, I said, here's what Mary Jean, do this. And this says each set of petitions will review, can or will be, should be reviewed by both parties. First by the opposite party, second by the fighting party.
But you don't pull out just the good ones, Brian. You check them all.
Yes.
Because that's what we do. We don't pull out this and that and, oh, we're only gonna check this.
Well, if what I hear you complaining to is that all Republican Party petitions need to be verified.
I'm not complaining, I'm
It-
stating facts.
Okay, if what you're objecting to is that all Republican Party petitions were not reviewed by a Republican staff member, we can go through between now and Thursday or Wednesday at 4 o'clock and look at them all again if you
No, I'm
want.
just saying, why didn't you do that at the beginning?
I think
You were ready to certify this morning.
I think that was done. I'm comfortable that it was done. Gary looked at every single one. Dave looked at every single one. Democrat staff looked at every single one, and Republican staff pre-checked the vast majority of them, and those that they didn't, they looked at the rest of them. I think it was done. I think it's been a comprehensive and fair review. We come to a difference of opinion. If you want to set up procedures to change this and validate it, do it, perhaps you should, but what I tried to do,
Jan, hold on.
what I tried to do
Call
was,
it back up.
Well, I think she's probably ready. Jan, can you tell us what you remember of the weekend?
Sunday morning, Gary took 3 people, Amanda, Dennis Columbus, and Hank Vargas, and as been said, put them at the far end of the room at the windows, and brought petitions to them for a special project, told them to do what you can do. Those were the instructions I heard, do what you can do. I did hear Amanda say several times, look at the ones with just 5, do the ones with just 5.
How close were you to them when you overheard this?
I was at the middle table, 3, maybe 4 computers from the end of the room.
What would that be in terms of feet?
10, 15,
10,
from the wall, maybe 5 from Amanda because she was,
So is it possible you could have misunderstood what was said?
no,
Impossible.
absolutely not, absolutely. I heard what was said.
Gary?
This nefarious plot about having them sit at the end of the room, which is, I know we can read all kinds of weird things into this and get Oliver Stone kind of thoughts about it. But Hank was sitting there. He sits there for the entire process. That's where Hank sits. He's never sat anywhere else. I didn't say, Hank, from now on, you committed your petition, sit at the end of the room. Hank liked sitting at the end of the room. That's where Hank was. So that's why we took the petitions back there. And there was some empty seats back there, so they went back there. Again, don't read a whole lot into it because Hank sits at the end of the aisle. That doesn't make sense.